Hi, Kathryn here with Handmade by Circle Art Designs. Today on my work table, I am working on a new design for me. This will be a wrapped memory wire cuff. Now this is a piece that will not be up in the shop. It's really, as my daughter says, a prototype, but I wanted to share it with you. She has asked for this, and this will be a gift to her. So let's turn our eyes to the mat. So as always, when I look down at my table, I see this beautiful, thankful, and blessed. And today I want to talk about the thankfulness I have with the little unexpected things. Two events happened just within the last little bit of time. First of all, Sunday morning I got up and I knew we were going to have to stay at both services. And I thought, I will never make it to lunch because we're going to be there from like 8 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon. And for me, that's a long time. So I went in and I prayed, Father, I need something to take in my purse. I'm out of any protein bars. I don't have anything prepared. I'm not really sure what I'm going to have. And when I opened the cabinet and looked up in the top shelf, there was a brand new box of protein bars. I was so thankful to see that box. Now you say, well, you probably bought it last time you went to the grocery store. Well, actually, I think it was 2 times before. But the point being, I had already looked the night before and did not see them there. And there they were, right in front. Isn't that a blessing? I was so thankful. The other thing is, I had been going to pick up some envelopes, and I was in a little store, and I had seen a new technique for my watercolor, and it was doing masking. And the lady said, if you don't have the masking fluid, you can use a white crayon. And do you know what was right there by the envelopes? Some crayons, Crayola crayons. It was awesome. I am so thankful to my God who provides for my needs even before I know I'm going to need it. How about you? What has the Lord done for you this week? All right. Yes, you saw the little purple dots. I have my pajama shirt on because it's so warm and I'm cold in this house. But today we are going to be pulling out from our December Bargain Bead Box these beautiful, beautiful little Malaysian jade 8mm beads. They are in the color they call ice blue round beads, 8mm jade. Now, aren't those just lovely? They're really the color of my mat. They're so pretty. The other thing I pulled from my stash for this bracelet are these beautiful they're 6mm by 8mm, is what they say, kind of, freshwater pearls. And these are in a powder pink. They are just gorgeous, and they look beautiful with those beautiful blue beads. And then we have a 4mm spacer ball that we're going to be using for part of this bracelet. So next up, we are pulling some jewelry tube, or the tubing. I get mine off of Amazon, and I'm going to use the black today. And we're going to be using quite a bit of it. It depends on what you're using for your memory wire, but I measure mine by putting it on this memory wire right here. And this is why I love memory wire. Doesn't that look like a Slinky toy? Okay, some of you probably don't remember Slinky toys, but I had them for my kids and I think they're great. You're also going to need some 16 gauge wire, and then this I got off of Amazon in a pack. It's probably about a 22, and it came in gold, silver, and I want to say copper, and I have that for wrapping. Next thing up, these are our memory wire cutters. See those jaws? It looks like a parrot beak, and it has those teeth in there, and it really does the trick. Never use your regular pliers. It will eat them alive. And we have a round nose plier I'm going to be using for loops, and to help close those loops, I have pulled my curved nose and my chainmail pliers. Now, as I was saying, and my flush cutters, that is going to be for the regular wire. I will use those memory cutter pliers both on my memory color wire. Memory color. My memory wire, and I will use them on the 16 gauge because this memory wire is steel and it really will chew up your regular wire cutters, and the 16 gauge is really too hard for that too. Now I've gone all the way around the circle and about a ½ inch past the end for my first cut on my memory wire, and I am using the middle half circle on my memory wire cutters. Again, showing you I'm going about a ½ inch past, and I always use my finger so I make sure I'm not cutting on the wrong side. Even after all this time, put it in the middle, and I'm going to clip it. Make sure when you clip this, and that's what I'm feeling for a flat cut. If you have a pointy cut, it's because you've slightly, instead of laying it flat or upright, you've slightly laid it to one side. You want to make sure you get a flat cut on this wire so it doesn't scratch you or your customer if you're making these to sell, or your friend if you're giving them away. You're going to need 3 of them. I have put one to the side for it will be the beads, and this one I'm going to go ahead and turn. This will be for our jewelry tube. Now I'm using my my straight nose pliers, and I'm trying to, it's giving me a hard time. I said, it's kind of like trying to get the dog collar on the dog. Anyway, I've got it in there. I touched it to make sure the point was not sticking up, because if it's sticking up, it has a greater tendency to stick out when you do the turn. I do little short turns. Some people can make this go all the way around in one turn, but I just use little bitty short turns, moving it towards the memory wire itself. Now, when the end gets to the memory wire, you are not finished till it closes. Do you see how that's completely closed? You don't want even the smallest gap on there, because you do not want your beads to slip through and get in that circle. We're going to use that little circle. The other thing is, I was showing, I am turning this over the top of the wire. That's important because of what we're going to do in the step of joining this. So go ahead and get only one side of your memory wire turned. And don't be surprised if you have a little trouble getting it all the way down to the wire. It has a memory and it doesn't want to go this way. That isn't why it's called memory wire. But just, keep at it, because it will go down. And it's very important that closes. And I got it closed, so we have those two. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this last one and set it back to the side. Depending on the type of bracelet or what you're doing with this, sometimes you can turn the loops under. They like that a little better. Sometimes you turn it to the side so it will lay flat against the back of your wrist. But for this one, it has to go over the top. So for the next step, we're going to go ahead and pull out our jewelry tubing. I have this in an opaque, a brown, a chocolate really, and a black. And for these, with those beautiful pink pearls and those light blues, we're going to go ahead and use the black. I think it will set it off more. We're going to start with that 4mm spacer ball, and that's just to make sure that nothing goes into the hole in the end of this bracelet. Now then, I am taking and putting this jewelry tubing on the bracelet. And this is so I can measure how much I want. There's easier ways to do it, I'm sure, but this is the way I learned. And so old habits die hard. All right, so I'm feeling where the end of it is right there. So I know that's where the end of it is. I'm going to go ahead and pull it off. We want to leave about a ½ inch, maybe a little less, on the end of the bracelet. I pulled it off and ooh, I cut that at an angle. That's sad, sad, sad. But that's okay because I have more than I need. So once I get that done, I'm going to measure these out. Oh, I see that I've cut that off at an angle. Let's fix that. Make sure your flush cutters are flat and straight so it'll give you a flat end. That's important when you're doing something like this because it has to butt up against that spacer bead you put on there, and you want a nice tight fit. Now then, I've measured it, making sure that this is flat. There you go. And so now I should have 2 flat ends on both pieces. The next part here is we're going to go ahead and put this on. Yep. I was going, are you going to put it on the wrong end, Kathryn? I know that you're in a hurry. I was in a hurry because I was afraid I was going to run out of time and have to go do the next thing. And I really wanted to get this prototype done. Now, do you see how much wire I have on the end? That is okay. Let me show you why. It looks like it's not enough, but you want this jewelry tubing to fit tightly. So I'm getting that spacer ball on there, or spacer bead, and then this jewelry tubing will pull down. So using my fingers, I have pulled it down a little further than what it wants to naturally. And I can get almost a ½ inch on this. This tubing was meant to be stretchy, but it doesn't have to stretch. So you don't have to cut as much of it off as you think. I rolled it around and it's a nice tight fit, and it won't be stretching out because I have stoppers on either side. So again, if your tubing seems like you haven't left enough on the end, I never pull any off anymore. Again, we're going to put on that spacer ball on one end and we'll put a spacer ball on the other. Don't sweat it. You can cut some off if you just have to, but you can pull this back a good ½ inch when you are finishing your bracelets. And this goes for whenever you are doing any type of tubing on wire. When you're using this type of tubing, I've put on that. I've taken my fingers and pulled it down so that I can go ahead and make my loop. And let's take this, give it another little pull. I need just a little more to get that one out of the way. And, oop, I dropped it. Okay, try it again. Pull it back. It's kind of like the slinky, like this tubing is kind of like the slinky effect. It too wants to go back. But I have done lots of bracelets with this. And whenever you leave that extra slack in and you make it slightly tighter and less stretchy, it really gives you a much better product. So I'm pulling it back again so I can go ahead and finish this round. And there it is. Okay, so now I have both of these. And you say, what were you doing, Kathryn? Well, memory wire does have a memory, but sometimes you can pull it out if you're not careful. And that's what I'd done. I'd manhandled one side of it. The good thing is you just twist it like that and it goes right back to it where it remembers to be. Now for this one, we're starting with a with a 4mm spacer. And then I'm going to put on 3 of the Malaysian jade beads. This will be a 3-2 pattern. I'm not using any spacers between it, and I will show you why in a minute. But once we've got that on, then we're going to go ahead and we're going to put 2 of these gorgeous soft, actually they call them lavender pearls, and they're freshwater pearls, but they really have a soft pink look to them, especially when they're up against this beautiful ice blue. Isn't that pretty? I just love that. This bracelet kind of gives me the ice blue. I guess it should remind me of ice, but it reminds me of the ocean in a calm day, and it's just beautiful. And then you have those beautiful pearls. And so this is a very peaceful bracelet. It has a very peaceful feel for me. So again, it is a 3-2 pattern. We're going to do 3 of the Malaysian jade and 2 of the pearls. I got these pearls, I believe, from Fire Mountain. And in fact, they had a closeout a year or so ago, not a clearance. And I bought a lot of them. And I was looking for something to go with this. And I said to my daughter, I wish I had pearls for you. She said, Mom, you have a whole box. You haven't used them all yet. And I went, oh yeah, that's right. And so I went and got them. And, I have some really pretty colors and some beautiful sizes. So once we get this done, and it needs to go all the way around, then we're going to close it up just like we did the other 2. So I'm checking it out to see how far I have to go. Now, this is one of the things you want to know when you do a pattern like this, especially if you're not using a consistent size, and that's these pearls. You want to be gracious to yourself when you get down to the other end of your bracelet. You want to fill this up even if you're not able to put all of it on. Isn't that pretty? I just love that. That is so pretty. Now, I have too much wire here yet, but I don't think I can put 3 of them on and a spacer ball, and I need to finish with the spacer ball. So let's look and see. See, that's a gorgeous piece. Doesn't that feel calm and peaceful? I just love it. You know, some days I pick my jewelry by how I feel or would like to feel. Like this morning, I had put on some beautiful, bright, easy bracelets to wear, and I looked at them and went, this is my I need a pick-me-up bracelet. And I think I'm going to show those to you maybe later in the month of February. So now that I've seen where I want to go with this, I'm going to go ahead and turn the loop down just like we did before. Now this will have just a little more give to it than the bracelets that we did previously with the jewelry tubing, because we're going to do some wire wrapping, and we want to have enough space that we can get some wire in between those spaces. Now, I'm going to tell you a little secret here. When I got this done, and that's what I'm doing here, I decided, it really needs 2 beads. I can't stand that. And so I'm going to straighten this out, and I'm going to go ahead and put the other beads on it. And here we are. I straightened it out, and I added 1 more bead, and I went ahead and got my spacer ball on it. So for me, doing this on the memory wire I ended up doing 2 of the blue Malaysian jade on one side and 3 on the other. Now we're going to stack this bracelet, and we're getting ready to use that 16 gauge wire I told you about. This is going to get our bracelets as a solid piece. This is the first step. I'm using the bead along in the gold tone, and this is tarnish resistant. And I'm going to go ahead and straighten up a piece that, it's about 2 inches long. It's better to have more than less. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut it after I've straightened it. and it straightens really easy. I find this easier to straighten than the smaller, and then the larger the number, the smaller the wire. So in a smaller gauge, because they're a little flimsy and they go whopper gaggled real easy. So we're going to pull 2 pieces of this. I'm going to straighten it out again. Now the problem I have with this is, if any of you have watched for quite a while, you know that I have hand issues. And I'm not always able, I don't always have the strength I need to do some of the things I wish I could do. I remember I said I was going to use my memory wire. That's because of the size of this wire. And I don't want it to eat up my nice flush cutters. All right, let's see if I can get my hand back in. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn down this end. I'm checking to make sure both of them are flat. And as you can tell, I didn't get one end flat. So I'm going to have to cut that off and make sure it's flat and there's no rough point to it that could hurt my hand. So I've started out with my round nose pliers. I do not want to make a circle. But that is what I'm getting here, a circle. The next end, I'm going to use my chain nose. Now here, once you've got it turned down, you have to flatten this. That's why I did not want a circle. When I am flattening this, do you see how it's crossing over? And remember, this is a prototype, something my daughter asked for, and I just thought up on the fly. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut this off, and we're going to try this again. I'm having to cut off the end. I'm trying real hard. I took a very old pair of pliers and I'm trying to cut that off, and I just can't get it to cut even with my old ones. So we're going to have to go back and we're going to try this again. That's why I ended up going with the chain nose. Because the chain nose pliers will give you a flat turn as opposed to a curved turn. All right, so now then that we've got this together, what we're going to do is, I'm sorry, my hands have fallen out of place. I don't even see, there's my pen. The problem is when I pull it up to where I can see, I have to be so careful that I don't get it out of frame. I put a 4mm spacer ball in my first of the jewelry tubing bracelet. Then I'm going to put on 2 of the 4mm spacer balls. This is to give your 8mm beads space to set. The next I will do is I will go ahead and put on, and I'm just putting on one side because this is going to join these together and give them some stability. So the next one I have put on the 8mm, and yep, it has enough space. So I'm going to go ahead and put 2 more of these on. And then I am going to put on there we go. Then I'm going to go ahead and put on my other jewelry tube bracelet. If you had a larger jewelry tube and they do come in it, that would be real pretty too. And I can get mine off of Amazon. Did I tell you that already? That's the only place I can find them anymore. A couple of years ago, you could find them anywhere, but Amazon seems to be it for me. Or unless you want to order it from England, they have lots of choices there. Now, isn't that pretty? Let me get a picture of it real quick. So, again, we have put on our little bar that we made by turning down that 16mm wire. I don't think you could go any lower for this and have it hold its shape. I think you really have to use 16. And then you're going to put on a 4mm spacer ball, and then one of your jewelry tube bracelets, only one side of it, and you put it right through that loop. That's why it was so important for that loop to set up on the bracelet. Then we're going to put 2 more of the spacer balls, and then we're going to put our loop on the beads. And remember, this is a 3-2 pattern. 3 of the Malaysian jade in the 8mm and 2 of the freshwater pearls in I've forgotten the size. I'm sorry. I think it's a 5x6. No, it's a 6x8mm. And remember, pearls are really uneven because they're not man-made. They're grown, even if they are freshwater that we cultivated. And then after you do that, you're going to put on 2 more of the 4mm spacer balls. And then you're going to put on your last jewelry tubing bracelet, and you're going to finish that up with another 4mm spacer ball. And then we're going to close up the end just like we did on the other end of this bar. All right. And we're putting, as I said, we're putting on 1 more on the other side of that bracelet. And let's see here. Let's see if I do. I move it up closer. Pause here and look at that. That is a really good picture of what we want from this. And now it's time to measure our wire. And I'm going to tell you right here, I cut this wire too short. I don't know why I thought I could turn that thing at that length, but I was wrong. Make sure you go ahead and use your memory wire cutters to do this. Look at the little knob I gave myself. Okay, I'm going to move you to where I did it right. Okay, I gave myself half again as much wire. I have used my chain nose pliers for this. I just put the wire through before I cut it, mashed it down, those chain nose pliers, and then cut the length I needed to make the end flat. And this is what it should look like when the side is finished. I'll get you a picture. Now you might be thinking, wow, that is really a long bar. Well, where I found to do these bars this way was on YouTube. It was, I don't know who the teacher was, but the channel is called Jewelry Shop. She was doing metal working, and she was going to have to put some pieces together. And this is exactly the bar system that she used. And she said what I'm going to say. She said, well, it is big. It isn't Henderson. It doesn't hinder you. And it looks nice. It's just bigger than the bracelet. And she said, I'm still working on a solution and haven't found one yet to make it smaller, because you have to leave room for the beads. So I'm going to tell you the same thing. When I thought about this bracelet, I thought, how am I going to join them and keep it rigid? And this bar that I had seen on that YouTube channel, Jewelry Shop, I remembered, wait a minute. This lady put a bar in there and it was great. And she's a lot better and a lot more experienced than I am. So on this prototype, that is exactly what I did. If you find a better way, please leave it in the comments. I would love to know how to make the bar smaller. Thank you. Okay, let's go on. All right, now it's time to do the exact same thing on the other side. See you in a minute. Here we are. Now, isn't that pretty? Yes, they are big, but they look really nice. But it is still not working as a cuff. For that, we're going to use this little 0.5mm wire. This is also, like I said, I got it on Amazon. It said it was tarnish resistant. I'm going to trust them on that. What I am doing here is I'm going to take the end of this and I'm going to wrap it around those beads. That's one of the reasons I wanted to use gold, because you can wrap the wire around the beads, and it should just blend in with the beads. But you're going to have to do this on both sides because you have to have that tail of your wrapping wire secure onto that bar. And so that's just what I'm doing here. Now I could have put it in the little circle there, but I really wanted to be able to hide the end of this tail in between those little beads. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm just going ahead and wrapping it between the spacer balls, just like that. Now, once we get this wrapped around, what we're going to do is we're going to messy wrap between the beads that are on the bracelet, the spacer beads on the bracelet, and I'm going to wrap that around about 3 or 4 times. And that is just to get this started and to get it wrapped securely to start wrapping these beads. Once we get that done, we're going to start up the bracelet. I'm going to wrap between each of the beads, and then I'm going to wrap 3 or 4 times between each section. So I've gone around each one of the beads, and then I'm going to go around that blue section, and I've chose to do it 3 times. Next, I'm going to go across the pearls, and I'm going to go around that one, just like that, and then the next pearl, and then the same thing I did with the blue, I'm going to go around that section 3 times. Now you may notice I've already wrapped the other side. That's because I ran out of wire and I didn't want to unwrap it, so I started on the other side, and I know a little bit better of what I'm doing on this side, and so I decided I'd show you this side first. After you've wrapped it 3 times around, go ahead and wrap it once between each one of the beads, and then 3 times when you come to the end section. Now, one of the things I discovered whenever I was wrapping the other side is you have to be so careful not to pull that bead tubing bracelet under the beads you're wrapping, because you want that black to be on both sides of this bracelet, or brown, whatever color you choose. But the point is for that to be on both sides. Now then, I have come to the point where I have gotten the whole bracelet wrapped. I'm going to have to close both of these ends. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take it and finish the little loop, and I'm going to put it between the bead tubing and the bead bracelet, and I'm going to wrap it around just like you would on a regular piece you were wire wrapping. So I pulled it around the tubing. Then I'm going to go back through between the bead and the tubing. I'm going to pull it through again. If there's enough for a third one, I will do that. If there's not, I will just cut this off on the back near the wires I've already wrapped, and I will mash that under into the wires that I have already wrapped. So we're going to cut this right here. And then we're going to take these and we're going to just hide it right inside there, making sure there's no rough spots. And then I'll do the other side exactly the same way. If this had gone all the way down, I would have had to use 3 times as much wire. I used that wire, but if I had rolled off that much, I could have got it all the way down. You would do the same thing at the end where you did your messy wrap. You would put your little end around the tubing that it came out of, and then go ahead, put it through the bead, bring it up or bring it down depending on which direction you ended. And then after 2 or 3 times, depending on how much wire you have, you're going to go ahead and clip it and just use your chain nose and tuck it right in to the wiring that you have already done. Now, what I was going to tell you, One of the most important parts about this wire, this bracelet, is to keep that jewelry tubing bracelets on either side. Keep your tension not relaxed, not loose, but relaxed. Because the first time I tried this, I pulled my wire so tight that the little black on either side disappeared under the beads to the back. I had to take it all out and do it again and be more consistent with the tension I was using. I have a real problem with tension. When I get freaked out because I'm doing something new and I'm not sure if I know what I'm doing, I have a tendency to be really tight with my wire wrapping. Wire wrapping is not my first love, but I do love the way it looks, and I love the pieces that I get to do with it. Now then, I am making sure that all these are tight and pulled together so that they don't look quite so messy. Now, isn't that pretty? My daughter just loves it. I am so glad. I'm going to try this again. I'm going to go up and buy some of the oval memory wire, and I'm going to try this again for one for me. And when I do that, I will be sure and record it so I can put it on this channel and show you how I did it, and it won't be quite so crazy. My daughter, when she looked at this one, she said, "Mom, I love this best." I said, "Why is that?" She said, "Because you can tell where your mood was by how tight or loose your wrapping was." She said, it will be such a joy to look at it, and I love it, and I will wear it a lot. And she has been. Isn't that nice? I just love it, and it's so much fun. And look at those colors. The blue and that lavender pearl and that kind of pinky color. It's just gorgeous, and I love it. And like I said, if you find a way to do that bar better, let me know, because I love the bracelet. I have to tell you, at first I thought it was really going to bother me or her that the bar was so much bigger than the bracelet. But she said, "You don't even notice it, Mom. It's really nice. And you should put this up and you should tell people about making me this lovely bracelet." What a blessing she is. And here are some pictures. Thank you so much for joining me on this beading adventure today. I just love designing this bracelet. I can hardly wait to make another now that I kind of have the kinks worked out of it. And I will record it and put it up sometime in February so you can see it. Look around in your own stash, see what you got. And I would highly encourage you to make one of these lovely bracelets for yourself. You might be better at wire wrapping than I am. God bless you. I hope you had a lot of fun and laughed a lot, because I know I did. And I will see you next time. Please stop in our shop at circleartdesigns.net and check us out. God bless. Kathryn. Handmade by Circle Art Designs.